Hey, hello everybody. New job today. Started another big project. If you want to be a part of, watch the channel. Let me show you what we're doing. All right, here it is. We're doing this basically the entire house inside. And I'm caulking all of the beam up there, and there were some cracks on the edges of the walls that had to be repaired. Pretty minor, but they definitely showed up. So I wanted to make sure that I made it a really good job. This has always been a really good job. The job that somebody did finishing this is pretty good, and the paint job was excellent at the time. So here we are. I've gotten that corner. There was some really bad cracks up there on that beam. Finished it. I took the ceiling fan down. There was a ceiling fan. Took that down. And I'm going to get back to painting. You can watch on hyperlapse. And after that, I'm going to put a fan in. So let's get going. We started the job. I took the ceiling fan down. This was the old ceiling fan. It was undersized for the room, and I don't like the brass, so we got the brass out of there, got a proper size ceiling fan. You'll see me install it later in the video. And here's the before pictures. It was a nice job. The house was painted. They did a very good job when they painted it. It was just all different shades of white. We were ready to add some color. Not that it looked bad, we were just ready to add some color. So rented the scaffolding and got started with the job. This is the prep work that's required for any painting job. You want to make sure that you fix any nail holes, take down any light fixtures or fixtures on the wall, remove all your wall plates, and then you want to make sure that you fill in any cracks, caulk anything that needs to be caulked before painting. Then you can do your sanding. Usually most people do this type of prep work before. Now here I am removing the wall sconces. One thing to keep in mind in a high ceiling like this, about the only way that you're going to do a good job with it is to rent the scaffolding. You just can't get it off a ladder. For one thing, it's not safe. This is really the only way to do it. I rented this scaffolding at an orange big box store, and only cost me like $130 for a week. Now you can't beat that, and it's the only safe way to do a job like this, and it's the only way you're going to do a good job doing it. So encourage you, if you have high ceilings, rent the scaffolding, clear the room out, make sure that, now my family were out of town for a week, that's the optimal experience, to be able to have the area to yourself and do come and go as you need, and not have people in and out of the area or have to use the area. So here we are starting the job. I did all my prep work, and now I'm laying on my paint. Now, something I'm going to say about paint: you never do good if you cheap out on paint. If you cheap out on paint, you're going to have a bad job. You're going to have a messy job. Cheap paint will not stay on the brush. Cheap paint runs. It will not hold a line. And if you're trying to trim in like I'm doing here, I'm cutting in this ceiling and the other color, and you will not be able to cut in a line with cheap paint. So always get the best paint that you can get. And if that means paying 2 times more, then you need to pay 2 times more, because you will have a sloppy, nasty job if you buy cheap paint. Also, cheap brushes, do not use them. I have brushes for dark colors, I have brushes for light colors. Some jobs, I throw the brushes away after each time. I do not try to clean them. Another thing you'll have a bad job doing if you keep reusing brushes on light colors after dark paint after light color. it's a recipe for disaster in a paint job. On this job, I bought new brushes. They were expensive brushes, but they were specifically designed for the paint. They were supposed to lay on the paint with minimal brush strokes, minimal lines. So I paid the extra money for the brushes, and it worked. They did a great job. Didn't leave a lot of brush lines, so it was worth the money. Also pans, paint pans, things like that. I get enough to, I get the liners and absolutely throw them away after each time. If you have an hour-long painting session, you stop, get the paint out of your pan, throw it away. Just throw it away, put it in, get a separate garbage bag, put all of that in there and get rid of it. Wear rubber gloves, wear the nitrile gloves. Also, don't cheap out on those. If you buy the cheap ones, you will continuously break gloves and you end up spending more in gloves than if you get the good ones. I buy these black gloves from the Orange big box retailer, and they're a really good glove. I think they're about $14 for 50 gloves. So you get 25 pair for $14. So I think that's a pretty good deal. Also, masking, using tapes and masking areas to trim in before you roll. Learn how to cut a line. Years ago, I was working at a big office building, and I painted all year long. I started in one area of the building, and I went all the way through the building, and at the end of the year I started over and did it again. That's all I did was paint, and I learned how to cut a line. An old man taught me how to cut a line. It's real easy to do. Just practice a little bit. You load your brush up a little bit. You start below the line that you're cutting in. You you're gonna go horizontal, and you're gonna curve your way up to the line, and the brush will naturally, if it's a good brush and good paint, the brush will naturally cut a straight line. So all you have to do is start below, curve up, and work into the area that you're wanting to paint, and it will naturally put down a straight line. Now that's where good brushes come in, and not continuously reusing brushes. Brushes that have been used many times, the bristles start to fray, and if you don't take care of those bristles, or if you don't get new brushes, you can never cut a good clean line. That will make your job look sloppy. It's also where the good paint comes in. So learn how to cut a line. That's important. Using the proper roller. Any old roller won't work. You're gonna have to get paid for the good rollers. Make sure you match the roller to the type of paint you're using and the type of wall that you have. If you have really rough walls and you need a thicker nap on your roller, make sure you talk to somebody. Get the correct nap in your roller. You would get a much better job if you do that. And as you can see, I trim out a whole area. I pick out an area I'm gonna do. I trim out that whole area, cutting in all the trim. Then I go back and I do my rolling. Now what I do is load the roller up pretty heavy. And also make sure you clean the roller. Even if it's a brand new roller, you have to make sure that you pull that roller by hand, rub it real hard, make sure any loose fur, any loose material is off of that roller before you start. You'd be surprised at how bad you can mess a job up by just using a roller that has loose nap on it. So I load my roller up pretty heavy, and I start about mid-wall. I go up, then down, then back up. I kind of make a half of a W shape. Then I fill in that W shape. And like I would do the bottom first and then do the top. The same way, I kind of make a half W shape and then fill in that W shape and then kind of square that area off. Then I continue on all the way around until I finish the area that I have trimmed out. Now, some people need to have a lot of drop cloths and things on them. You'll see that normally if I'm just doing, if I wasn't doing dark colors, I don't use a drop cloth very often. I don't spill paint, but most people will splatter some paint here and there. So make sure you use the proper drop cloth also. Drop cloths now, some people, I've seen people put down plastic. That is a bad thing to do. You put down plastic, and if you spill paint, that paint lays on the plastic. You walk in it and you track it all through your house. What you need is an actual painting drop cloth like you see in the video here. And what that does, it has canvas, but it's a little bit impermeable. Anyway, it will catch the paint on the canvas type side, the linen type side, and it's impervious. That's the word. It's a little bit impervious, so that it allows the paint to lay on the surface and dry, and it absorbs part of it. It doesn't go through the canvas, and it lets it dry, and you don't track it throughout your house. So that's a common mistake people make, is using plastic as a drop cloth, and it's also slick. So you don't want to use plastic. Make sure you use a proper drop cloth. You can use old sheet, an old blanket or something, but remember that paint drops will go through that material. So you have to remember that. And make sure you don't get it too close to the area you're painting, or it will make for a bad job. The trimming in that I was talking about, that is kind of in reverse when you're doing against the baseboard, when you're painting against the baseboard. What I do is, and you'll have to figure out your way of doing it, but I get on my hands and knees, and sometimes I even will turn my head kind of upside down to paint that, and that's the only way that you can really do a good job of trimming against that baseboard. I just think it looks better to cut in by hand. When you try using tapes and things, the line never seems to be right. You can see where the tape was, or when you pull it off, you have that horrible line that is where the paint bleeds a little bit, where you either use cheap tape, or just because tape will do that. And sometimes I've seen when you peel the tape off, it peels off big sections of paint. So if you learn to cut in a line, your job will look so much better if you don't have to use tape. You can see I did this entire job with no tape. I did it all freehand, and anybody can do that just with a little practice. And you'll see I'm in this part of the video, you can see where I kind of do that half W thing and then fill in. Now this was a little different because I was trying to utilize the scaffolding and make sure that everything that I did was made it quicker for me to get the high parts done so that I could get off of the scaffolding. So a quick recap: do not use cheap paint. Match the paint for the job that you're doing. The paint that I used here was top of the line. I think I paid about $60 a gallon for it. It was a one coat. It's also scratch resistant. This stuff does work. Always use good paint. Learn how to cut a line. Make sure you learn how to cut a line. The less tape you use, the better your job will look if you can cut a line. Don't use cheap rollers. Make sure you match the roller type for the type of paint and the type of surface that you're painting. Also make sure you do good prep work, and do the prep work in advance so that it can dry. Because if you try to paint over wet caulking, you will make a huge mess. And make sure that you wipe down your walls. Any dust off the walls, anything greasy, anything that needs to come off the walls, make sure that you get it wiped off and that you give it time to dry before you apply your new paint. So that was a little recap. Cleaning your paint hot water. Just hot water is the best thing to use, and then at the end a tiny bit of I use Dawn soap. It seems to do the best. A little bit of Dawn dish soap at the end to kind of finish it off. Have dedicated brushes for light paints and dark paints. Don't feel bad about throwing a brush away, and I never ever reuse a roller. When I finish with the roller, I finish with the section, the roller goes in the trash and I start again. Because what happens is you get the rollers start to get pieces of it that dry. It gets a little film on it, and that little film gets a little skin to it. And even though you don't see it, sometimes when you roll on that roller and you roll across the pan, that skin breaks up and you get little particles all over your wall. It makes for a terrible job. So be prepared to throw your rollers away after each section. Probably goes without saying, but always have dedicated paint clothes. Everybody should have a set of clothes that are dedicated to just painting in or working in, because you carry a rag with you, but you always can reach down, grab your leg, and wipe off your hands at an important time, or clear off some debris that is lodged on the wall and just wipe it on your pants. That's the best way to do it. Being able to just wipe on your pants. Set yourself a goal each day or each section of the job and work to that goal. And when you reach that goal, stop. Clean your brush out. Your brush needs to be cleaned out, because another thing, a brush will load up in the bristles. It'll load up towards the metal part. You'll see it start to swell, and that paint gets hung up in that section of the paintbrush. Eventually, when you try to cut a line, that paint will drip out of that section of the brush, and it'll make a mess. So set yourself a goal, a good goal, not too far, but enough that you're moving along with the job. And when you finish that section, clear your pan out, clear your brush out, wash your brush. You can use that brush again. You're just gonna go shake it out real good, take some paper towels, dry it out as best you can, and then load it up with paint again on your next section, the goal you set. So set yourself goals each day or each section of the job. Maybe I should have started with this next thing, but picking the correct color of paint. Now, I thought about this color for months. At the start of the video, you probably saw the 4 splotches of paint that I painted on the wall. Start out by getting the chips from wherever you're going to buy the paint. But grab several of the color that you're thinking about and tape those to the wall. Narrow down your search. Give yourself several options, and then buy a small sample jar of the paint and paint a square on the wall. I painted a 1 by square of each color that I was thinking about, and live with that for a while. I put that on the wall and left it there a couple of weeks. You want to be able to look at it in different lights, because that color is going to change all day, and you want to know if that color is going to make your room too dark, if the color at night is just maybe hideous and you don't like it, because once you put the paint on the wall, it's a big job to do it again. So you want to make sure that you're fairly confident in the colors that you choose. Now, it's not always going to work. Sometimes you're going to finish the job, the paint is going to dry out, and you're not going to like it. And that's just the way it is. You're going to have to repaint it. But you can limit that by doing the steps that I just said. Put those 1 by squares on the wall and live with it for a couple of weeks and look at it at different times of the day. A lot of people mess up by not doing that and then getting the wrong colors. Make sure that you pick colors that are going to flow with the other rooms. So if you have one color of paint and that color with the door open, you see that color against another wall. For instance, this living room, if one of the bedroom doors was open and you could see the color in one of the bedrooms, if those colors clash really bad, you want to make sure that you have a type of theme through the house that works together. Pick a group of paints that work together. And if you use all these steps, I think your job will turn out good, and you'll enjoy the new colors of your house. So, well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Remember, they may do it another way, but that's the way I do it. We'll see you next time.